Hello, everyone, and welcome to You Can't Eliminate All Vulnerabilities, but you can reduce their impact on your business. Today's webinar is sponsored by TrueFort and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Keith Ward. I'm with Actual Tech Media, and I'm excited to be your moderator for this special event. Now, before we get to today's content, there are a few things you need to know that will help you get the most out of this session. First off, we want this to be an informative event for you, so we encourage any questions in the questions box in your webinar control panel. We'll have team members responding to questions during the live event and a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the presentation. That Q&A panel is also the place to let us know about any technical issues you might be experiencing. A browser refresh will fix most audio-video slide advancement issues. But if that doesn't work, let us know in the Q&A and we'll provide further technical assistance. All right, next up, take a look at the handouts section of your webinar control panel. There you'll find a bunch of great resources. Most importantly, for today, you'll find several TrueFort solution briefs there, as well as an overview of the TrueFort platform. Other handouts include a link to the Gorilla Guide Book Club, where you can get access to Actual Tech Media's huge library of resources on technology topics. There's also a link to the ATM Events Center, which has our calendar of upcoming events. And the last item on our list is the prize. At the end of this webinar event, we'll be awarding a $250 Amazon gift card to one lucky registrant. Now, you must be in attendance during the live event to qualify for the prize. The official terms and conditions of the prize drawing can be found in the handouts section. Just scroll to the bottom. And finally, one of the best benefits of this and any Actual Tech Media event is the opportunity to ask questions of today's expert presenter. And to help encourage those questions, we have a special additional prize for you. That's another Amazon gift card, this one for $50 for the best question. After the event is over, we'll look at all the questions that came in, pick out the very best one, and contact that prize winner. Okay, so with that, let's get to today's session. It's my pleasure to introduce you to our presenter today. He has a fantastic last name, don't you think? I think so. He's Brian Ward, Senior Sales Engineer with TrueFort. Now, anyone with the last name Ward is bound to be outstanding. So let's get going. Mr. Ward, the floor is yours.
Thanks very much for that introduction, Keith. Maybe we were separated at birth at some point, or maybe we're long distance cousins. I don't know, but it's pretty cool to be working with another Ward. So let's get into my presentation. I'm Brian Ward. I'm a senior sales engineer from TrueFort, and I want to talk to you about how we can eliminate, we can't eliminate all vulnerabilities, but we can reduce the impact on your business. A little bit about TrueFort. We're a application security company. We protect your critical business applications inside your enterprise. And so let's get into it. So obviously the largest gap is applications in the environment. It's where all your critical data is stored, obviously, right? Production applications are also the most lacking when you look at it in a holistic manner in security. They are attacked most frequently. Ransomware attacks, you name it. This is where the bad guys want to get to those crown jewel, those business critical applications. So in the case of ransomware, they can encrypt it and ransom the organization for money. It's very devastating to a lot of corporations when this happens. Existing tools that they have in their arsenal lack an understanding of those applications, and of course the interactions and the user behaviors. Those existing tools have limitations when it comes to understanding and detecting vulnerabilities in production applications. There's multiple vulnerabilities that can expose the business and enable access to those applications. And to just name a few, networking vulnerabilities, unpatched software, misconfiguration of firewalls in the environment, operating system vulnerabilities. So, everyone knows Patch Tuesday, 0 day, day one vulnerabilities. They're out there. Human vulnerabilities, so insider threats, insiders having the ability to access applications or systems that they shouldn't, right? A fired or an ex-employee comes in, tries to exfiltrate data for their new job, maybe, or what have you, or for some sort of malice because they're upset. And then process vulnerabilities, so systems interacting with outside systems. Maybe they're unauthorized FTP servers or payment processing systems, you name it. That's what they could be. And as I move to the next slide here, we're going to, the attack surface in medium all the way up to enterprise uh, organizations, it's big, it's very large. It carries a lot of risk because this operational complexity forces security teams into accepting unknowns in their environment. And these unknowns result in implicitly trusting their environment, which of course is not a viable security strategy in today's world, right? Hope is not something that you can rely on. And when they're trying to solve these problems, security teams, have no good way to reduce risk by minimizing this implicit trust. Yeah, if I put it another way, for security teams to manage and control risk in their applications environment, they need a way to make the shift to, managing that explicit trust that is known, understood, and can be continuously validated so risks don't really creep back into the environment. And let's talk about, how TrueFort works to solve some of these problems. If we go left to right here, I can talk about the runtime telemetry that we ingest. So we're from cloud directly to ground. So physical virtual cloud environments, is where we pull information from. We pull it from different sources, and those different sources can be CrowdStrike, SentinelOne, our TrueFort agent, and maybe some custom telemetry like flow logs that we can ingest into the environment. So once we have that environment or environmental telemetry, we ingest it in and we can perform observability on it. So observability is we can take the applications that are part of your environment, we can map them so we can show you visibility of how those applications are communicating. Once we have that, we can then apply our behavior analytics to the environment. So this is an important part of our platform. Behavior analytics are a differentiator for us. We're using AI and ML to tell you what's normal against what's an anomaly. So it really helps when you're creating security policy. And that's where we get to the application environment trust visibility part, creating that from that observability, creating that those controls. And on the control piece of it, there's workload segmentation that we can do. So we can use our behavior analytics. We can create an allow list policy and apply it to those applications and segment those applications. So either using third-party EDRs like CrowdStrike or SentinelOne, or using the TrueFort agent to apply that. We can also look at service accounts. So having the ability to visualize how service accounts are connecting in the environment and where they're going as far as the applications are concerned. And then being able to control them. So being able to put some sort of control to either block it if it's outside the normal. So if it's a stolen credential and it's accessing an application that has never been seen in our baseline, we can take action against it. Workload integrity. So being able to apply file integrity monitoring to those systems, doing file scans, understanding those important files if they're manipulated anyway, and again, taking action on that with a control. And then also workload hardening. So applying SIS benchmarking to it. So the Center for Internet Security has templates which we've adopted, and we can apply those against different OSs, Linux, Windows, and so forth. And if there's a change within that hardening, we'll alert you to it and we can detect if there's a drift, and you can take action to either make the change so that it's still hardened, or respond in any way manner that you see fit to address that issue with that server. And then custom controls. So we have a full API with our pipeline manager that we can do custom controls on our system, and all of that goes to response. So we have the telemetry coming in for the visibility around the observability that we can see. We can then take controls, and then you can respond to it. So responding to as they go out to your SIM in the interface itself, so you can take action and know about it. Implement workflows and implement an automated enforcement around what's happening in your environment. So killing a process if it's against the baseline, it's not normal. Malware is being deposited on a server. So taking action with that new software being installed because it's not in the baseline, we can do automated workflows enforcement around that. And the targeted workflows also in regards to that software package, and again to the service accounts, and then the initial blocking if we see something outside that baseline. So that's how our platform works, and I gave you a little information in regards to that. So let's move on to a demo. I think you'd all appreciate a demo of what the environment looks like. So let's get into that quickly here. So this is Truefort's realm. So this is our demo, this is our platform of our security product. So again, Truefort really is a comprehensive security platform designed to protect the ecosystem of your application. So we do that in a few different ways. So we control the lateral movement east-west in a hybrid data center. Um, and we can apply segmentation tool policies to enforce that. We have service account visibility and control. We do file integrity monitoring, sys benchmarking, and also have a full reporting and analytics capability engine in the environment. So as we dive into the demo here, this is our realm view. So this is an organized view of the applications within your environment. We'll facilitate this with our behavior analytics to provide a real-time, role-based view of the applications. So we'll pull in your CMDB information into the environment. And we know no customer out there has a good CMDB. So the good thing about us and our behavior analytics is, we can take what you have and build off that. And then as we build off that, we can put it back into your CMDB system to enrich it also. But you could intentionally use us as a source of truth. And then what you're seeing in here is on the left here is this is a top level view. So we're going to see on the left the registered nodes, the nodes that we know about, the applications that we know about in the environment connecting to your applications, your core applications. On the right is unregistered nodes. So these are nodes or workloads, OSs, internet connections that are not part of our baseline. So you'll see the green and the red, that's our behavior analytics operating. The green means that's the normal. So that's normal connections that we see as part of our baseline. They've been approved. The red ones are anomalies, right? So, these are ones that we haven't seen as part of our normal baseline. This is our behavior analytics in action. So if I toggle to the right, I'm going to go to a grid view here, and this is a tabular view of what you're seeing at top enterprise, top level of the applications. So this allows you to gain additional insights into the cross communications of the applications, what's accessing them, and the telemetry being received, such as port detail, source destination, and session counts, for instance. You also see our behavior analytics here in action on the left with the green and the red. The green check mark means that it's, again, a normal behavior, and the red X means it's an anomaly. So it'll allow you a little more detailed information into that. So let's go back here, and what I want to do now is I want to drill down into an application. So what I want to do is drill into the SIMS application here, and we're going to go into the details of it. You can see here that I have some information about the application. It's richer information around the application itself. And we're labeling the pieces that make up the SIMS application. So the web server and the servers that are part of the web server. So this is like a 4-tiered application. We have the app and messaging and database and so forth. So we're labeling this so that you can understand it in your environment. You'll see things change here because again, this is a real-time environment. So it's being updated, as we go with the connections. On the left, you can see our connections of our registered nodes accessing, the web server and so forth. So you can see that in real time. We're showing these relationships in real time because it's very valuable in helping the organization understand, what's communicating in their environment and what's communicating to their important applications. These blind spots, it's exposing them for you and for your environment. If I go to the grid view here, this is a more richer view than the other grid view that we saw before. So we're showing much more information here. Um, you know, these are the 5 tuples from the packet header. So the source, destination, the port and protocol, the IPs from the source and destination that you're seeing here. We're also enriching this data with more information. So because our behavior analytics and what we're seeing in those applications on those hosts is we're going to see the user who executes this command within that flow. We can see that directly. So Linux, Windows, we can see the user that's are executing those commands. So you have that information here. It's really, this forms the basis of our application behavior analytics. You know, Otherwise, really, how would a lot of this would have, or a lot of these connections would evade traditional detection methods if you were to use another product, but you're seeing them here. So let me go back. And so just to sum up, I think around application visibility, it's the foundation for understanding the risk posture of applications and it allows you to establish policies and controls so you can detect and respond against anomalous and unauthorized activity within the application environment. It gives great insight into the areas the organization really would be blind to. So now that we've done visibility, let's get into the applications. So what you'll see here is we've organized the applications again in our labels. So we have 2 labels here. We have the application itself, and then we have the roles underneath that application. So again, like I showed you in visibility, we also have it here, right? So this helps organize the environment, makes it easier to apply policy and to understand what's going on. So if I click, let's take the web server here for instance, and if I look on the right, we'll see some tabs. And what we have here is we have the general information tab, we have the teams tab where we can apply our RBAC rules of the different teams that can administer this application or this role. We have the agents that are a part of it, and then we have the profile. So this is again, Trueforth, we establish policies by creating a behavior profile of the application using that machine learning over historical data. So from a historical data point of view, we only need a minimum of 2 weeks before, so we can baseline what's normal. Sometimes it may take longer, but that's fine. We can always, merge. We can constantly update it. And this is a visual representation. So I can come in here and I can compile based on whatever metric I want of the system. So network, so that I can apply segmentation policy. I can do file scans around FIM. I can do software package compiles, baselining so that I can see the software that's installed on that system. And I can run these any time of the day, and I have, advanced options. If I go back to rules, so this output is exactly that. It's a compile of the policy. So this is what we're seeing first as a normal baseline. And this is all configurable. So you can see with the computer that these are from us. We've created them with our AI or ML. The person icon here are ones that are created manually. And then we can create global rules that, if you want to allow SSH and RDP for administrators to access these machines, you can do that here, and then you can apply it. And these rules will then put them in the native format and push them down to the endpoint where either a Trueforth agent, Sentinel-1, or CrowdStrike is installed into their firewall. So IP tables, Windows firewall, and so forth. TrueFort has about 160 parameters plus that you can baseline that application behavior. I just want to show you this. If I pull down this metric and go to package, we can baseline the packages that are installed on those machines. So again, if you're being affected by a ransomware attack, you can tell if they've dumped, on an affected machine that they've dumped, their malware, their rootkit, Mimekats, what have you, onto that server. You'll know about it. And then what you can do is we can create a rule pack or a workflow to mitigate that. So this is the automated part. So, I can select package here. I can then create a rule or a workflow to say uninstall that package or what have you, alert me on it if new software is put on that machine. So I can take action. I can do a bunch of other workflows around killing the processes, around user accounts, around blocking IPs and so forth. So really, this is the automation workflow. That's a big part of our tool. So let me go back up to Realm here for a second, and I want to show you another part of the tool. Incident response is very important, I think, with a lot of our customers. Let's go back into the SIMS application here. So using application behaviors profiles, TrueFort can detect and respond to behavior anomalies that may reflect an intruder or some sort of bad behavior, as attempted lateral movement, reconnaissance, exfiltration, or what have you. So TrueFort provides a targeted alerting on application behavior anomalies. We'll reduce that alert fatigue. As you can see here, these are the alerts that I have open in regards to the SIMS application. We can see them here. If I had a workflow, some of these, would be processed. As you can see here, the ones that are processed are the ones that we have a workflow on it. So I can right click, I can go to annotations, and we can see that, hey, this was an IP that came in that wasn't in the profile. So we've set up a workflow to say, hey, any IPs that are not in our allow list, block them. And that's what we've done here, all within a few seconds in the environment. If I go to some of the open ones here, you can see that we haven't processed or done anything. There's file integrity ones in here, there's process ones in here, and so forth. But the part that's interesting here is if I find an alert that I want to do a bit of research on, maybe incident response, maybe I want to look at something that doesn't look right, I can pause the real-time flow here, and I can go to the timeline, and I have DVR type capabilities. So I can go back and forth through time, and you can see the screen behind moving, and I can go and find the alert that I'm looking for. So what I want to do is I want to look for an interesting one here. Yeah, let's look at the 6:20 a.m. So this was an alert that I got at 6:20 a.m. that gave me an anomaly of a connection that was going through the messaging environment out to the internet. So I want to look at that further. So what I can do is I can come in here and I can see that, and I can drill down. So I can go into the messaging server, I can go to the process. And if I go to the process on that server, you can see that I can now see the processes of that alert. I can actually see who ran that process. So who kicked it off? I have the PID, and I have the command that's being run, the curl of this command. So I can see that, and I can see the sub processes that are being run, and then I can see where it ends up. If it went out to the internet, maybe it's an exfiltration of data, I can see that. So I can see the event, and I can, drill down on that process tree, and I can see a lot more information. So this allows your operations teams or people in the security team or within the organization to quickly understand an incident and really act in real time. It's very, this is a competitive differentiator for us. No other vendor can do this or has this DVR capabilities to go back and forth in the timeline. We do. We can see that, and you can see I can move around the application here. It's very, very interesting. So one last part I want to touch on is the TrueFort platform comes with reporting and dashboard analytics capabilities built in. We can help identify vulnerabilities and risks within the application environment that vulnerability and pen testing cannot provide. And if I look at, so we have canned reports here, as you can see, these are with the platform. They're all ready for you to run. You can also make your own reports. It's Elastic Cabana, so it's very easy, to put in the filters. It's very easy to understand and run. In this instance, this is database connections. So I've quickly brought up what are our database connections in the environment? Maybe I want to see and understand PII data that's within a SQL database. I can come here and I can see that. And I can see who's accessing it, what applications, what users. I can also see the versions of MySQL or MS SQL that are running in the environment. I can see that. I can see all the ports. 1433 looks okay. 3306, yeah, that's a MySQL port. That's good also. But if there are ports coming up here that I don't recognize, I can investigate them. So it allows you to look within those environment to see that information within, if you want to, you know, uh, send this report to a compliance officer or to make sure that you're in compliance, you can do that. Another one too, if I look in this JDK example, so what I've done here is I'm looking for Java runtime in my environment and versions, because we all know SolarWinds, we all know Log4j. A lot of companies were unable to see where this software was in the environment. They had a lot of trouble understanding where it was in the environment. So with our reporting, we give you the ability. I can put in JDK in here. I can look for Apache versions if I wanted to, OpenSSL or what have you. So I can see that here. And if I go down, you can see here, I can see the version of of Java here. The JDK is 1.8. Is it a version that needs to be updated, right? I can take action on that. So we know all the servers, right? The addresses, the information, and I can take action on that. So I can mitigate that vulnerability. And then the last one I want to show is around service accounts. Very important to understand how service accounts are being, how they're accessing the environment. If we look at service accounts in the environment in an enterprise, for instance, let's say 10 service accounts per servers. I'm running 40,000 servers in my environment, or I'm even running 4,000 servers in my environment. That's a lot of service accounts. 40,000 service accounts, 4,000 service accounts, what have you. How do you keep track of those service accounts now, right? It's almost impossible, right? Our founders had an issue within the organizations that they work for, and it was the impetus of that issue that birthed or created TrueFort. They were unable to understand, during an incident, a compromised service account was being accessed in the environment, where it was going. So they wanted, they built a platform that could do many things, and service accounts is an important part of it. And with reporting, I can see where those service accounts are being used, what applications, how they're being used, what ports, and so forth, what processes they're executing in the environment. So, this gives you the ability to one, gives you visibility and the ability to take action on any of those things that are happening in your environment. So you get the features and capabilities you'd expect in a logging platform, right? But you can search, you can integrate data that's been collected, and then easily customize dashboards to your liking. And we can also export this data to another, to other teams and other platform, even within Slack if you like. So that's all I had today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found this useful. Hopefully, I look forward to speaking to you guys at another event. I want to hand it back to my brother from another mother, Keith. Thanks very much.
Brother from another mother. Wow. I can't wait to see you at the next family reunion, Brian. Hey, that was an awesome presentation. I love the demo showing what TrueFort can do to keep environments safe. A lot of great questions have come in during your presentation, so why don't we start getting to them? Are you ready, Brian?
I am. Keith, can you hear me?
All right, I can hear you. I can hear you. Outstanding. So let's fire away. You've already answered some in the Q&A in the window, so we're going to get to some of the others here. So first up, Brian, does TrueFort require deployment of an agent or network device?
Yeah, great question. So we're an agent host-based solution. So we do two things. We can deploy the TrueFort agent to the OS, to the workloads in the environment, or we can take advantage of our integration with CrowdStrike and SentinelOne. Whereas you would not need an agent deployed by TrueFort. We could pull the telemetry, do segmentation, visualize service accounts in the environment by using those already deployed CrowdStrike and SentinelOne agents.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, here's another one. Can TrueFort integrate with other existing tools in my environment? That's obviously a crucial one for everyone.
Yeah, and TrueFort, we know there's many security products, in customers, ecosystems, and we want to play nice in the sandbox. So, I did talk about the CrowdStrike and SentinelOne integrations, around the end, the not deploying an agent, but we also have our API, our pipeline that we can use those to hook into CMDBs, ticketing systems, etc. And also around SSO and SAML, we have integrations into Okta and other providers.
Gotcha. So TrueFort gets an A on works and plays well with others, right? All right, next. Here's someone who says our company has too many tools, which creates alert fatigue with little to no focus on application context. Can you quickly cover again how you address that?
Sure. And so as TrueFort as a platform, we do more than just microsegment. We can help consolidate multiple tools, agents, such as FIM, server hardening, visibility as well. Since we use a behavioral approach, where we're baselining the environment, because of that baseline and understanding, and defining what's normal in the environment, we can greatly reduce that alert fatigue. By not telling you when something looks like a threat, but it's been normalized by us. It's not an anomaly. So, we don't alert you on that. There's no need to. It's a normal behavior in your environment. We rather tell you when your workloads are operating out of the approved spec.
Okay, good to know. Next for you, Brian, I have a someone asks, I have a hybrid environment and utilize multiple clouds and data centers. Can TrueFort handle that kind of an environment?
Yes, we're made for the hybrid data center, so we can operate, in traditional physical data centers, anywhere throughout the world, and also cloud environments. That's a strength in having that unified visibility of the TrueFort platform. You can see how applications are communicating in the cloud, whether it's GCP, Azure, AWS, or on-prem. We can give you that unified view, and you have the ability to create, profiles, policies for both environments.
Okay. Here's one that just came in also. Uh, how does TrueFort protect against email exploits?
We don't. So that's a great question. So, phishing attacks, spear phishing type attacks, we wouldn't protect against those direct attacks, but we're protecting the applications. So if a user is compromised by one of those email attacks, what's going to happen is that, bad actor, that person who is compromise that end user who's clicked on that bad email, will then try to get to something of value in the environment. That's where we come in. So our behavior analytics will flag an alert that, hey, this user who normally attaches to these servers, these applications, is all of a sudden trying to connect to servers that it's never connected to before. So our behavior analytics will come into action. We'll see that, we'll alert you to it. And then we can or we may already have a control in place just for that scenario where we can block that IP or take some other action.
Okay, all right. So it protects against the damage from these types of exploits. In other words, that's good to know. Okay, next, how long does it take to discover the different applications and communications in an environment?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, our behavior analytics, can take as minimum as 2 weeks to run. But we know many customers, they may have, monthly reoccurring things, or even yearly reoccurring things. But from a minimum standard, we would just need 2 weeks of baselining.
2 weeks. Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
All right, next up, how long does it take to complete a microsegmentation project?
Yeah, I think, it depends on the scope, depends on the size of the organization. But because we offer behavioral baselining and then an auto generation of suggested policies, pushing out an application dependency profile can be done in days, if not weeks. We can get the customer very quickly protected in the environment. We'll want to ensure that all the application workload processes, take place in order to capture all necessary use cases. But, ongoing changes will always be captured and can either be, merged into the new policy or be denied. So quite quickly.
Okay, excellent. What are the optimal approaches Truefort recommends for zero trust microsegmentation? Of course, zero trust, one of the buzzwords these days, and something that I think every company needs to be investigating at the very least. So, what approaches does
Sure.
Truefort recommend for this?
Yeah, that's a great question. We fit nicely into the zero trust framework. And there are many ways that you can segment workloads, either via the workload type, where you can control east-west traffic between those sensitive workloads. We can do it by environment, dev, test, prod, role-based, so at the application tier, or process or user-based as well. So our solution is very flexible when building, those zero trust policies.
Outstanding. Okay, next for you, Brian. Um, does Truefort work well in an educational or highly transient user population when normalization may not exist in neat 2-week windows?
Yeah, and that's a great example of where we may have to run for a little longer. It just depends on your environment. But you're right, at transient where they're connecting on and off the network all the time, we can get, a fairly good baseline within those few weeks. But, you can keep baselining or, baseline every 1 or 2 weeks, and you can merge those into the policies at your leisure if you'd like. But yeah, those environment, like we see in education, they definitely take a little bit longer. But we're talking, just maybe 1 or 2 months longer.
Okay. All right. Looks like we're wrapping it up now, but I have one more question for you before we go, Brian. If somebody wants to get started with Truefort or to find out more about what you offer, what are the next steps that you recommend for them?
Yeah, that's a great question. Obviously go to our website, www.truefort.com. And some of the content that we're providing here will also have links for contacts too.
Exactly. Those are the handouts that I mentioned earlier. Lots of great information there. Make sure again that you download all of the stuff that Truefort has on offer there. Um, okay, I think we are good right there. Thank you so much, Brian, for putting together a fantastic presentation and for all of your insights in the Q&A. I do have to say those wards never let you down. And we really
Thanks, Keith.
appreciate your time today. Absolutely. Okay. Thanks again, Brian. All right. We are going to have to move on to the next segment here. We're done with questions. And before we wrap up, however, we do have one more piece of business, and that is the Amazon gift card prize drawing. And the winner of today's $250 Amazon gift card is John Stockman from Pennsylvania. Congratulations, John. We'll be in touch soon to get you your card. And with that, everyone, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank Truefort for making this event possible. And thanks to you, as always, for attending and for all of your great questions. It was a pleasure to be here with you today. Now, that concludes today's event. Have a great rest of your day.